Hi everyone, welcome to this week's introductory session for our lecture. Before we get into the content, just a reminder that if you're in your last semester at the college and you're about to complete your program, please ensure you submit your degree preferences for study period 5. There's a link in the lecture PowerPoint, or you can refer to your emails for more information. This week, we're going to focus on production design, production planning, and production management. So this introductory lecture section is going to focus on production design and some key areas for consideration. You will then also watch a related production clip for your production format type. So what we'll look at today, production overview, what type of support is available, what process is important, starting to think about some of the legal requirements and also the exegesis, which everyone will complete. Why do you need to think about these things? Well, firstly, to create an innovative product, to earn a high grade, and to create something you can legally redistribute and sell. If we bear in mind that the aim here in our course is to create a product to a professional standard, so then you can add it to your portfolio or you can potentially go on to sell the concept in the future. It's your intellectual property as well as your coursework. Section 1, Production Overview. So there are a range of different formats you can select from for your digital project, and each of you will have pitched a different format and idea. That's an app, a digital media review, a film, a game, an infographic, photo montage, website, or a negotiated project. All projects must be approved by your tutor, so when you receive your feedback for your pitch in the coming couple of weeks, please look closely at whether your project has been approved or whether it has been approved with amendments or whether it has not been approved. So you'll see there's feedback from your tutor which will help you to construct your project in a really valid and manageable way, so you do need that approval to move ahead with the project. The pitch feedback includes helpful directions, so please ensure that you read this. When we think about the criteria for the final project, you can see that it's broken down into different elements. Firstly, the concept and design is worth 30% of your final project grade. So does it employ an effective design or layout for communication? Does it address the project specific criteria? And this is listed linked to the assignment 3 details online. Does it show conceptual and creative merit? So is it a good idea? Has it been approached in a creative manner to create something new or to address a particular niche? Then the technical production is also worth 30%. Is it in an appropriate delivery format demonstrating knowledge of digital production processes? Do you show professional presentation and production content? Then legal and research is 20% of the grade, so this is quite important. So using appropriate sources as per the production criteria. So for example, if you're doing a digital media review or a critical media review, then you would have at least 4 academic sources, whereas an infographic has 6 reliable sources or reputable sources. Please see the project specific criteria to ensure that you're addressing what is required for your project type. Do you have appropriate credits or Harvard-style referencing as per the production criteria? Have you included release forms and required documentation? And have you fulfilled industry, copyright, and legal requirements? Then everyone submits an exegesis, which is worth 20% of their grade. I'll talk more about this later in this lecture clip. This is a 500-word piece of writing which outlines your production journey, problem solving, and learning experiences. No additional research is required as you're reflecting on your work when you write this. So you can see here the specific criteria for each of the different types of project. If you are doing a negotiated project, then please keep in contact and communication with your tutor so they can help you determine which one best aligns with your negotiated project format, so you know what you're being assessed upon. Please become familiar with this so you're making sure that the project you create meets these requirements. Support. So even in these tough times, please remember you're not alone, that you're part of a production community and that we want to see everyone succeed in this course. So if you're having trouble reach out via email, via the drop-in consultations, via the synchronous tutorials, or via the discussion boards. In this way, you can make sure you connect with staff and your peers and get support needed to complete your amazing digital project. So, things that can be helpful for you. The production planning worksheet, which we'll go through this week in the online tutorials, and this is a key learning outcome for this week because it will help keep you on track with your work. Then production tools, so things like Adobe Creative Cloud and the software there. Your peers and the teaching team. You'll find that there's a lot of valuable knowledge within this course and the people that both teach and take the course. So make the most of those opportunities for connection and support. The course site contains a lot of information, including specific production guides for the different formats. And this week you can access the production resources page. So as we've moved into this next phase of the course and the focus on completing your project, use this page as a point of reference that can help you connect to a wide range of things, including things like the types of forms that you need for releases or a connection to links for tutorials, or otherwise just some useful examples for consideration. So the examples there on that page, there are also recordings available to you in the forms of different production clips. That's the next step after you complete looking at this lecture clip. So please make the most of those. You might also think about things like stock images, and there's discussion in most of the production guides about how to access images which are freely available. All these types of tips are linked from the assignment 3 page. You can go through to production resources and through to other useful information. Now, Adobe Creative Cloud, many of you have already connected with this software, and this is expensive professional software, but you have access to it for the duration of this course. So have a look at the software available at these links and determine whether this is useful for your project. It's available both in the form of desktop apps and mobile apps. If it's your first time using Adobe Creative Cloud, you need to sign in via the site, and the sign in is on the top right corner. There's a step-by-step guide on the UniSA site on signing in. There are enterprise accounts or school or college accounts, so that's using your standard UniSA email address and passwords. So you can either do that from the Adobe software installed on campus, if you're, say, for example, going in and using the campus library, or via Adobe's web portal. There's a huge range of different software available via Adobe Creative Cloud, which is useful for different things from film editing and page design and layout, Photoshop for image editing, Adobe XD can help you design an app prototype, Illustrator for creating things like vector graphics, After Effects for compositing, and then here even more, Dreamweaver for web editing, lots of really useful tools that you can use. Step 3, process. So an important question to think about is, what are you doing? What do you actually need to do to create your digital media project? Then how are you going to do this? So what are the different steps that you need to work through? This week in the course, we're really going to focus on this element. I love this little meme. How do you organize a space party? You plan it. So any good and effective undertaking, the best way to get a good grade and to get a really good outcome is to plan it. So we'll focus on that this week in the course tutorials and online tutorials. It's also worth remembering that every artist was first an amateur. So this may be the starting point for you in a new format that you haven't used before. Everyone needs to go through this process of learning and development. And if you're good at doing this thing already, then it probably wouldn't extend you as much in the same way. So use making the most of this new undertaking. So there's production support and guides. There are relevant clips for each project type in the week 9 lecture. So to view after this clip, do have a look at your production guide, review the specific production criteria, and complete the production planning worksheet. You'll share this with your tutor and they'll give you some feedback around how manageable the timelines are and any suggestions they can spot of things that would add to your planning to help get you across the finish line by the end of week 13. Section 4, legal. So the work that you're creating, You want your work to be legal, ethical, even profitable. So it's important that you're aware of Australian copyright law and the impacts this might have on things that you may wish to use for your project. But one of the great things about copyright is it also guarantees your ownership of your work, and it works to protect artists and other creative individuals for the work that you create. We'll talk more about this when we come to the lecture on ethics. Releases are important. So anyone who contributes to your work, say if they provide music, if they provide imagery, if they act in your work, then they can sign a release, and this gives you the legal right to use that work. Please ensure releases are included for other people's contribution. There's also things that are available through broader usage rights. So image, music and video may be available in these ways. Often things are shared by Creative Commons under an attribution license or a similar license. Or you can also use Google image search and check the usage rights of images. So some things are available out there for you to use. Please make sure that you credit them. It's very important to show this ethical acknowledgement. So if you're using something where you're relying on specific research or other evidence, then you would reference that information. If you're creating something and some content has been supplied or someone has contributed to your work, then make sure that you credit them. Now, there may be some special cases which emerge, so be guided by your tutor. Stay in contact with them and they'll help you negotiate this terrain. Section 5, exegesis. Now, an important thing with the exegesis, it's about remembering why you started. What were you trying to achieve? What did you hope your project would be like when it was completed? There's also often this tension, as William Faulkner notes, where the work never matches the dream of perfection the artist has to start with. And an exegesis gives us space to discuss this. So what is an exegesis? Well, as this definition notes, it's a critical explanation or interpretation of a text, especially of scripture. So this may be used in biblical exegesis is a common way that this word is used, but it's also used in artistic and creative fields. So we often think of a thesis as something that's written at a postgraduate level at university, and a thesis is essentially an argument. It's a strong argument and it's put together in quite a large way. So for example, a standard PhD at university is a 100,000 word thesis. An honours thesis is significantly less in terms of word count. But a thesis, when it comes to a creative field and an output, is often an artifact or a text of something that is created and supported by an exegesis. So say, for example, in postgraduate screen, someone might create a 20,000 word feature film screenplay and support this with a 30,000 word exegesis. So for more detail on this, because you will need to write an exegesis, please check out production resources, which is linked from the assignment 3 page. What is an exegesis? So you must submit a 500 word exegesis. It's a form of writing that often accompanies creative projects. And this writing needs to critically examine your project, defining the purpose and aim. Say, for example, it was a website. It should address the following questions. Did you achieve what you set out to achieve? How did you meet any real-world professional requirements? So this piece of reflective writing is based on what you were trying to do and then what you ended up achieving. So in an overall summary of this week's lecture, please review production criteria before commencing, plan your production path, identify the relevant hardware and software, follow legal and copyright to make sure that your work is both ethically produced and professionally produced, and make notes as you go so that you can write your exegesis easily. So just keeping a few dot points each week of what you're doing, what you're hoping to achieve, what things perhaps you might be struggling with and how you work to overcome them. And this will help you create something amazing over the next month and a bit in this course. So the final assignment is due Friday, week 13 at 5 p.m. So make the most of the time between now and that due date to create your amazing work. Now, please get started with the next step, which is to view the relevant production clip for your project type.